I've met this woman.
Hi, sweeties!
Her name is Eileen. She's the most amazing person I've ever met.
Eileen is in freaking jail.
Here's Eileen's mugshot.
She was taking out credit cards without telling me and like maxing them out and stuff.
What I remember is at first I paid for it when you first maxed it out. Yeah.
You didn't pay.
But then down the line.
That's not true. You
It
didn't
is.
pay me credit.
I remember transferring money to that.
No, I don't know what you're talking
No, but I
about.
remember-
you have not paid
I
any of
did.
these. No, you
I did the
didn't.
first.
And she's a writer and she's into politics. She's like really cool.
I've meant to maybe go back to technical writing and then I haven't. The point is, and I think you're too kind to say, is that you married somebody with no resources.
She's just so lovely to me and she treats me like a princess and she's always so considerate and nice and lovely to me.
I'm the only one who cooks in the house.
I can be really intolerant. It's not that I always think I'm right, but I sort of do, you know what I mean? My temperament, as I've gotten older, I'm much less patient than I used to be. Can you throw this out? And also, are you drinking the Diet Coke?
No.
No, can you throw that out? Just dropped it on the floor. But you can be a handful, you know, in your way. Don't forget that you open them. You always do that. Anyway.
She's just my soulmate.
Me and Eileen have decided to file for divorce.
She's just my soulmate. This is gonna be the most special video ever because I am here with the most special person ever. I would like to introduce you to my wonderful boyfriend, Keith.
Hello.
She is like quite a bit older than me. I'm 24, almost 25.
And I'm 61.
You're probably thinking, oh my god, again. I really want y'all to give him a chance and, you know, give our relationship a chance. You know, he is a boomer. He is quite a bit older than me, but actually just slightly younger than my ex-wife, but pretty close. You know, if you want to judge me, just go for it. I don't care.
Hi, sweeties!
You're so cute.
No, you're so
adorable.
cute. You're beautiful. You are.
I don't know if it's just me, but it seems that over the past few years, age gap relationships have fallen drastically out of favor online. Not only are these relationships seen as taboo, but Gen Z in particular are very critical of what is increasingly being seen as an inevitable power imbalance that exists in age gaps. And because of this, we've sort of drastically transitioned from a time on YouTube, roughly about 5 years ago, I'd say, where age gap couples were very much a lot more accepted, pretty much just posting vlogs of their daily lives, into a far more sensational, taboo representation of age gap relationships. Do you know this channel? Or this channel? Love, Don't Judge, and Truly are, in my opinion, contradictions. They're channels that claim to normalize unconventional and taboo relationships, but they do this by sensationalizing, rage baiting, and almost pimping out the taboo for clicks and likes. Pregnant at 13, and we're not bad parents. Love, don't judge. My ex-husband was sleeping with my dad. Love, don't judge.
Who does that?
The overwhelmingly negative response to these channels is telling of how these kinds of relationships are perceived, and increasingly age gap couples are a massive revenue source and staple for these channels. And that's because for many of these featured couples, being taboo, countercultural, and controversial online is what sells and is a huge part of their attempt at social media stardom. After all, if you want to appear on these channels, you have to email their casting teams, because in our social media age, all publicity is good publicity. And nobody knows this better than 30-year-old YouTuber, influencer, singer-songwriter, age gap relationship advocate, and now podcaster, Zelg.
Hi, sweeties. Hi, sweeties. Hi, sweeties. Hi, sweeties. Hi, sweeties.
Now, Julia is fascinating to me. She is very much recognized from her very bright and vibrant style, most notably her pastel and neon pink hair looks. I feel like the vast majority of people online who are queer and LGBTQ+ have at least seen her face, have at least come across something or other to do with Julia Zelg. Julia is a Brazilian Portuguese influencer and singer-songwriter who started from very humble beginnings. And until the age of 18, she lived with her mother in Brazil. An introverted and shy child, Julia nonetheless had a dream. And that dream, to this day, is to be famous. Trained classically, she wanted to be a singer, but not a classical operatic singer in the niche world of classical music. She wanted to be a more mainstream pop rock singer. Such aspirations were only possible by emigrating to London to attend college and then study music and hopefully get into the music industry and the music scene that way. Julia often relays the story of having only £25 in her pocket, a few suitcases, and her dream, and moving on her own to London.
And I moved to London on my own when I was 18.
And Julia truly hustled and grinded on immigrating in order to get herself through college and into music school. Now, almost immediately on moving to the UK, Julia started her YouTube channel, and she started it with the intention of uploading music. But this is a hard gig. This was definitely an era of YouTube in which becoming a famous singer via uploading YouTube videos of covers and even some original songs was very trendy. Everybody with a voice wanted to be the next Dodie, Tessa Violet, Orla Garland, or even Justin Bieber. These singer-songwriters were proof that anybody could make it. But you had to garner an audience, and the best way to do that was to put out content that people wanted to see, like vlogs and makeup tutorials, Q&As, and lifestyle videos, which is exactly what Julia did. She needed to create an audience for her music. Now, one thing about musicians and influencers is that they all have an aesthetic and experiment with aesthetics throughout their careers. Julia was no exception. As I said, she became known for dyeing her hair bright, fun colors and experimenting with punk, goth, pastel goth, and alternative styles. She was a proud and out lesbian. She was a recent immigrant living on her own in a new country. And it was clear that her channel was the perfect outlet for her. It was obvious that she was enjoying the YouTube experience of having a channel to just be herself on and to upload videos onto. And what was very noticeable about her first 4 or so years on YouTube was that although her audience was small, they were very, very loyal, and she was adored by all. Early Julia was a very, very likable person. She uploaded 3 times a week. She had a full-time job on top of that. She was at university and was just a very wholesome alternative woman doing story times, Q&As, hair and makeup tutorials, and vlogs. For years, she never got over 10,000 views a video until she released several very well-produced music videos. But not even the relative success of these music videos would prepare Julia for the views that would come flooding in when she introduced the internet to her girlfriend.
I think she loves me.
Julia Zelg is a brilliant case study into the perils of influencing, the consequences of having no boundaries with your audience, as well as the illusion that love will conquer all. And by love, I don't just mean Julia's love for her various partners, but in our day and age, the greatest love of them all, the love of online validation and fame at all and any cost. And so the question for this video is, how did Julia Zelg go from being defended and adored by her fan base and the LGBTQ+ community at large to being the recipient of criticism and hate comparable to that of Amberlynn Reid? If you know, you know. And I mean that. During her prime, Julia grew exponentially from virtually no subscribers to 300,000 subscribers by June 2022. However, since 2022, she's only gained 4,000 subscribers, which for someone with her then upload schedule, with her subscriber size across all her platforms, as well as her views, is most unusual. As I said, Julia is fascinating to me, mainly because while she's incredibly human, she very rapidly and suddenly became very influencer.
Oh, look at that, look at that, look at that.
Oh my god, I feel so famous!
And I think because of this, at least since her blow up, she has garnered two very polarized audiences alongside her main audience. On the one hand, she has a group of diehard devout followers who will follow her through the underworld. And on the other hand, she has an audience who are just as devout, but have felt very betrayed or dismissed by her. And this audience has congregated on Reddit and started the Zelg snark page. Hi guys. And I'd say her main audience consists of people who are subscribed to her but don't watch her anymore because it just got a bit too much. They've wished her the best and checked out. And this deep dive is all about everything that was just a bit too much. The first being Julia's never-ending dilemma with reconciling her want for fame with her highly publicized intimate relationships. Going through Julia's content, one thing that was immediately apparent to me was that she is always in a relationship. Since starting her channel all the way back in 2014, I cannot actually find evidence of her being single for more than a few months. And based on my analysis of her, I think this is very intentional to who she is. Julia is very much one of those people who dreams of celebrity and therefore needs validation, both publicly and personally. The best way to get social validation is to be famous, and the best way to get personal validation is to be in a relationship. Couple that together and you have the perfect recipe for making your romantic relationship content for mass consumption on YouTube, hitting two birds with one stone and fulfilling your need for both public and personal validation. Julia will often say that she started her YouTube channel to do music, but her channel really didn't suggest that. I would argue that it wasn't becoming a good singer that Julia was after, but rather the wanting of celebrity that comes from being a good singer. And because she wanted celebrity, it was very easy for her to transition from struggling artist ambitions into a fully fledged influencer. As I said, Julia started to gain views after uploading her initial music videos, but this interest didn't nearly compare to the traction she would gain a couple of months later after introducing her audience to her girlfriend. Now, this girlfriend was different from her previous few. Julia's previous girlfriends had all been around her age. One had even cheated on Julia with her own cousin. But these relationships weren't anything to really write home about. Let me repeat, this girlfriend was different. I will call this girlfriend Meryl. And the Meryl era is indicative of something characteristic of Julia Zelg. Now, the Meryl era represents a relationship dynamic and cycle that we will see in Julia's later relationships. And the dynamic is that the girlfriend is always a reluctant participant in being on her channel, at least until Eileen. Eileen was special. But right now we're briefly focusing on Eileen's predecessor, Meryl. Meryl seems to have been Julia's first serious long-term relationship. Julia made it known that Meryl didn't want to be on camera from the get-go, establishing that her channel was a beauty lifestyle channel and not a couples channel.
I don't usually talk about my sexuality here on this channel because it just usually doesn't come up because it's a beauty and alternative fashion channel. But I'm completely open. I just don't talk about that a lot because I don't know, I just thought it would be random and it wouldn't have anything to do with the channel. But because you asked me so much, so I think you're interested. I do have a girlfriend. We've been together for about a year and I would love to post the girlfriend tag with her here on the channel. But she's not as open as me with all the social media stuff. She doesn't even have Facebook and I need to respect her decision because people are different, even though I would love to film the tag with her, introduce her to you. Anyway, she appears sometimes. I think some people already realized who she is. So yes, I do have a girlfriend, but for now I cannot post the girlfriend tag.
But Julia would eventually, very quickly, post a girlfriend tag and bring Meryl into the limelight. What was immediately apparent was that Julia's views skyrocketed when she brought Meryl onto the channel. And I'd say the main reason as to these hikes in views had to do not so much with them being in a lesbian relationship, in as much as the evident age gap and aesthetic differences between the two. Meryl was in her 50s and Julia was 22, 23. Now, Julia's audience loved Meryl. Based on the forums and nostalgic posts in general, she was received very positively. And I'd say the main reason for this positivity had to do with Julia's audience's awareness that Meryl did not want to be on the channel. This is how Meryl responds to being on Julia's channel, and even though we can't see her face or hear her real voice, it is clear that she doesn't want to be there.
And we are gonna answer some of your questions. Are you excited?
Yes.
Yes. Ready to be the star of the channel?
Yes.
Julia's partners not wanting to be featured on her channel is a long-running theme. A thing that many of her detractors don't like is how Julia routinely transforms her partners by, for instance, dyeing their hair pink or some other bright color, and gradually seems to change her partner's appearance into what she wants, whilst the partner reluctantly or dotingly goes with the flow.
Guys, today we'll dye my girlfriend's hair and do a complete transformation. And ta-da! This is the final result.
For instance, with her first UK girlfriend, Julia dyed her hair and gave her a transformation. And this was what Julia had to say about this ex looking miserable after she gave her what I'd assume to be an unwanted makeover. She decided to review her exes with her then partner, as one does.
She just looks unhappy. I think, poor thing, I think she probably didn't want to film YouTube videos with me. And I was just like, probably insisted a lot, and she was just standing on camera like, looking unhappy.
Now, Julia knew that her content was becoming pretty much dependent on Meryl's appearance. And it was very obvious that Meryl loved Julia and would do anything, even be on camera for her. She'd basically create hype around her music by inserting a Q&A or vlog with Meryl in between. And of course, like with all her girlfriends, Julia transformed Meryl. I have blurred out her face, but Meryl just looks like she's so done with YouTube. The Meryl era ended quite abruptly, and the publicity of their relationship seemed to be at least somewhat of a part of that breakup. The YouTube channel seemed to be wearing Meryl down, and I understandably don't think she could handle it. Especially having strangers, albeit a minority, commenting about how she was a sugar mommy, how sick or how abnormal their relationship was. And at the same time, a prerequisite of being with Julia, contrary to what she herself may believe, is that being in a relationship with her necessitates being in a public relationship with her. She doesn't just do this with her intimate partners, but with her mother as well.
Ok, a gente vai falar 1, 2, 3, aí hi, sweeties. Aí,
With such enthusiasm, we're gonna start.
Hi, sweeties!
I think if Meryl had outright declined to be on the channel, that would have spelled the end of the relationship in and of itself. And arguably, it probably did. But this wasn't cause for tears. Oh no, it was not. In fact, it was cause for celebration.
Basically, something really, really amazing and magical happened to me.
About a month after Julia and Meryl broke up, Julia would have her first of many viral videos in September 2018.
Hi, sweeties! You're so cute!
No, you're so
adorable.
cute. You're beautiful.
You are. You look gorgeous.
No, you look so
You
beautiful.
do.
I wish everybody here could see how beautiful you look in person.
Oh. Welcome back to the channel.
Reaching a whooping 2.1 million views, Meet My Girlfriend lesbian age gap couple definitively established Julia Zelg's brand. No longer was she a singer-songwriter or even an alternative fashion vlogger. From now on, she would be known as the 23-year-old influencer dating a 60-something-year-old woman.
So how old are you, Julie?
So you probably already know about my age if you follow me, because I've said it before, but I'm 24, almost 25. Some people think I'm like 15 just because I have colorful hair, but I'm not. I'm 24.
24 and a half.
And a half. And how about you, my love?
And I'm 61.
By October 2018, Julia had U-hauled. By December 2018, Julia had proposed on stage at her own music gig. And obviously, this went super viral. So just to reiterate, Julia and Meryl broke up by mid-2018. Julia and Eileen started dating in around July-August of 2018, had moved in together by October 2018, and were engaged to be married by December 2018. Love don't judge, but we do. And here's my judgment. I think a lot of this bizarre speed rolling of the relationship was driven by the social media frenzy around their relationship and wanting to keep riding that wave. Julia and Eileen were immediately picked up by the mainstream media.
I know things have moved quite fast with us, but you know, sometimes that's just the way it is.
This just feels right. We're together because we love each other. As Julia very beautifully said once, we couldn't not be together, you know?
Now, I'll call this the Bachelor effect. I'd say that the vast majority of Juleen was compounded by the Bachelor effect. The Bachelor effect is basically when you love a person, but a large part of what compounds that love is the fairy tale romance that is created by the public perception, the public validation, and the public eye being on that love/relationship. Your love for the person grows within a framework fostered by everything that makes a reality TV show like The Bachelor. Millions of eyes are on you. The relationship and love is what makes you famous. Money is flowing in because of that love. Everybody in the relationship is putting their best self and their best foot forward because everything is done in front of a camera. Now, it doesn't mean that the people experiencing this effect aren't actually in love. Julia and Eileen were clearly in love. The contestants on The Bachelor do indeed oftentimes fall in love, but it definitely means that a lot of things that are important, that are boring, and that are very everyday, which go into building a successful long-term relationship, are overlooked. And this is why The Bachelor's relationship success rate sits at a measly 11%. One comment sums up a lot of what people were thinking on seeing Julia's proposal to Eileen a mere 4 to 5 months after her breakup from Meryl. I'm going to sound like a hater, but I'm not. I'm so pleased to see two people fall in love, no matter gender, age, race, life circumstances, etc. But I think our society is seriously putting too much pressure and deeming marriage to be this fairy tale. I think if two people truly love each other, they wait until they get to know each other. They see the bad sides of each other, they go through hard times together, they get to fully know each other's families and friends. Then they decide if it's something they truly want to commit to. I've seen a number of friends get married quickly and then divorce right after. There's nothing wrong with it, of course, but I just think, what's the rush? If you love someone, that's great. Why do we have to prove ourselves with a piece of paper? Well, there was a reason why Julia and Eileen had to prove themselves with a piece of paper so soon into their relationship. The relationship was very, very good for Julia's channel. And as a YouTuber, I know that when we get good views on a video, it's very difficult to overcome the temptation and the urge to capitalize on that thing and produce more of that exact same thing, because all the receptors in our brain are telling us that this is right, that this is good. Every single thumbnail and title after her viral video introducing Eileen was a riot. A week in my life featuring my girlfriend. London Fashion Week with my girlfriend. Trip to Berlin with my girlfriend. Reading hate comments with my older girlfriend. 2 girls, 1 cake.
I cannot find the words to say how I feel.
Julia was gaining astronomical views and subscribers. Her dream of celebrity was coming true, so why wouldn't she propose to the very person whom A, she believed was her soulmate, and B, whose existence was making all her dreams of celebrity come true? And this brings us to the Eileen, or should I say the Juleen era. Now, Julia and Eileen's whirlwind romance brought Julia to the masses in a way that Meryl's reserved demeanor never could. As I said, Eileen was special.
Girlfriend. Her name is Eileen.
Eileen, yes.
Yes.
That's right, Eileen. And I'm so happy to be introduced to you guys, particularly.
It was immediately noticeable that Eileen was far more comfortable on camera, marking a stark departure from Julia's previous partners, who were all very much reluctant participants. I hazard that this was also a large part of what made falling in love with Eileen such a quick thing for Julia. She'd never had a partner who actually wanted to be public or enjoyed the spotlight as much as she did. Naturally, their proposal as well as their wedding preparations and eventual wedding went absolutely viral. Mainstream media was truly lapping this up.
Legally, wife and wife.
It was a day to remember for Julia and Eileen, the day they pledged to love each other forever.
And you promise to be loving, faithful, and loyal to her for the rest of your lives together.
I will.
The couple met on Tinder last summer and instantly hit it off.
We were very, very connected from the beginning.
Yeah.
But they acknowledge some are curious about the age difference between them.
Her wedding preparations were closely documented not just by Julia herself, but by the media. And her wedding was an affair to remember. It was a very, very cool wedding. Now, it's important to remember that Julia married Eileen in June 2019, having only met her in around August 2018. Eileen was her soulmate, after all. And as I said, the Bachelor effect was in full swing with these two lovebirds. There was inevitably a lot about Eileen that Julia could not possibly know. Everything I'm about to say is public and is either sourced from public records or directly from Eileen's own YouTube channel, because yes, she has her own YouTube channel, courtesy of Julia, of course. Eileen De Freest is an American citizen born in 1957 who moved to London in 2009. If you go on her channel, she speaks very openly about her experiences with drug addiction whilst living in the States, how she moved to London with no money and was homeless, showering and sleeping in Heathrow Airport. However, what is pertinent to our story is how, after getting married, Julia wanted the couple to go to Los Angeles, where Eileen had previously lived. There was also a film crew from Love Don't Judge or Truly that was filming a reality documentary series about them at the time. However, this was the first sign of trouble in paradise, and one of the issues with what I have observed as being what I'd call the Juleen dynamic. A plot hole for the documentary and on Julia's channel was that Eileen had met Julia's family in Brazil, but Julia hadn't met any of Eileen's family and friends in the US. In short, Julia wanted to go to the US. Eileen was a bit more hesitant. And the reason was only made clear after Julia uploaded 2 videos revealing that on landing in New York as a newly married couple on honeymoon, Eileen had been detained and arrested at the airport for car theft. A 14-year-old warrant had been out for Eileen's arrest, and another warrant for another car. Julia uploaded a video about this where she was clearly distraught and had immediately gotten herself into debt in order to bail Eileen out of jail and to cover all of her legal costs. Allegedly, Eileen had been arrested in 2005, was released but failed to appear for her next court date. She'd left the state, then moved to London, and had chosen not to return to the US until she was in a financial position to do so. Based on things such as company checks, online sleuths at the time were also able to find out that throughout her adult life, Eileen had allegedly gone by numerous aliases. She herself admitted to having been arrested in London in 1999 for credit abuse. She'd allegedly incorporated many companies under her various aliases. One of these numerous companies was called E. Gray Design Limited, and its business partners are listed as Mrs. Eileen Gray and Ms. Eileen Ashton Ryder, 2 of Eileen's alleged aliases. Now, according to a storytime video posted by Eileen on her channel, her identity was stolen.
I was, really furious that this woman had stolen my passport. I didn't really want to have anything to do with it further. And what I went through is as follows. I was treated just like garbage, the way people are treated who are arrested. If you've ever been, unfortunately for me, I have, and it's a terrible experience. If you've ever had this kind of thing happen, most people won't have had it happen. Most people won't have been arrested in their life. But if you have, there is an immediate dehumanization that occurs, and it is absolutely nauseating.
Now, I'm not saying that this is a lie. If this is true, I am so very sorry that this happened to her. And yet, based on everything, we're going to learn about Eileen and Julia's financial arrangement. And based purely on the scandal right after the two had wed, I can see why many people believe that Eileen had a rather shady history and started to eye this age gap relationship suspiciously. Now, while this was all happening, I would say that this was definitely a golden age on YouTube for lesbian couples content. I don't know why exactly, but the algorithm was eating up these couples at the time, especially if they did morning, nighttime routines or kissing challenges. Actually, sorry, I just answered my own question. If there's two women kissing, then yeah. And oh my god, just off the top of my head, I remember how many of these channels, these couples there were. There was Eric and Frida, Sarah and Rachel, Angelus and Nina, Alexis and Lillian, Berkeley and Tori, Kristen and Steph, Sadie and P. Basically, if you were a hot lesbian couple, if you made out, if your thumbnail featured you lying in bed together, you were guaranteed at the very least 500,000 views. Now, Julia and Eileen soon became one of the many faces of this kind of content. They did the chapstick challenge. Their morning routine went absolutely viral.
Hi sweeties, welcome to our morning routine. We always cuddle in our sleep, so we usually wake up more or less like this. I literally have the best girlfriend ever. Every day when I wake up next to her, I just feel so incredibly lucky and grateful for having her in my life and for being able to wake up every morning with someone I love and admire so much.
I just find these videos kind of cringy when you realize the amount of setup that goes into staging these seemingly organic scenes of everyday life.
And we always kiss and hug and talk about the day ahead before getting up. And that's one of my favorite parts of our morning. We often wear these robes in the morning as well. We always have a lot of fun together, whatever we do. Even if we're just at home. I think especially if we're just at home actually. We usually do some work from home on the computer. And I love that. It's very, very nice because we can get so much work done but still spend some time together. So we usually sit like this on the sofa with our laptops, or Eileen sits on the desk and I sit on the sofa.
Please remember that Eileen works from home. It's very, very important information. Now, what you'll notice from these videos is that clearly Eileen was very, very comfortable being on camera. The couple had weathered the storm of Eileen's arrest, made it back to London, and were settling into married life. Apparently, everything was hunky-dory, and it had to be. A big part of Julia's brand is that she basically, at this time, became an advocate for age gap relationships between consenting adults. Although most of her loyal viewers are from the lesbian community, most of her virality on YouTube, on TikTok, and especially on Instagram revolves around the age gap, and especially how taboo it is for an older woman to be in a relationship with a younger woman.
People have a hard time accepting it because they see older women only as mothers or grandmothers. They don't see them as individuals and as sexual beings as well.
Right, yeah.
So to think that an older woman could be interested in someone younger and having fun and being sexual, it kind of offends people somehow. I feel like people are a little bit more comfortable with seeing an older man with a younger woman because they don't see older men the same way they see older women.
Julia is very big on dispelling what she perceives as being the myths around age gap relationships, that these relationships are always unequal, that the young partner is always a gold digger, that it's impossible for someone young to be physically attracted to someone exponentially older than them. Now, Julia gets these accusations thrown at her left, right, and center, so I can completely understand her being very outspoken about it. Remember, it was Julia who bailed Eileen out of prison. It was Julia who paid off Eileen's debts that she hadn't even known about, mind you, and was now in debt herself. Clearly, Julia, the younger partner, was the breadwinner, the provider.
I've been called a gold digger online a bunch of times just because I'm younger, and that comment really upsets me because I've worked so hard to have everything I have, and if you don't mind me saying
Please.
I do, earn more.
Yeah, you out earn me. There's no question.
Than
Yeah.
Eileen, and it just makes me so upset, like when people say things like that.
Yeah.
This all speaks to what I previously dubbed as the Juleen dynamic. Now, since publicizing her age gap relationships online, Julia has received a lot of hate, but she's also received a lot of what I would call concerned criticism. And this has to do with a few things. Firstly, it was very noticeable to Julia's viewers that she had adopted a very particular influencer persona, which a lot of people, especially since her marriage, didn't buy into. There is definitely something a bit uncanny valley about Julia at times, and I personally don't think it's put on. I think she is genuinely this way. I'd basically sum up this persona as follows, just based on my observations of her. Julia has clearly always wanted to be famous, to be a celebrity, and it's almost as if over the years she's cultivated her personality, her mannerisms, and her entire presence around having a camera on her 24/7. Her audience seemed to have definitely noticed how her appearance has changed over the years. That is, she went to Turkey to get veneers and was heavily criticized for that. She gets cosmetic procedures and she's constantly bleaching and dyeing her hair, which, although it looks absolutely amazing, so cool, inevitably causes damage. But that damage doesn't matter because her dyed hair is her trademark. It makes her stand out. And I think people not liking her has definitely been something hard for Julia to accept, because this is who she really is in her eyes. Secondly, as I said, Julia is exceptionally influencer coded, but she also has absolutely no boundaries with her audience. I've actually never seen a content creator or influencer have such a lack of boundaries with their audience. Julia and Eileen's marriage was a three-way relationship between Eileen, Julia, and their audience. Julia overshares, which as a result conflicts with the influencer persona she has. And by overshare, I mean the kind of oversharing that makes her audience uncomfortable and uneasy, as opposed to the kind of oversharing that breaks stigmas or is a cry for help. There's a reason why influencers don't overshare, and if they do overshare, it's usually a cry for help or to clickbait. And if it's to clickbait, the influencers are usually far enough removed mentally and financially to never take the hate personally. Think Tanamongu, or even better, early Trisha Paytas, the ultimate oversharing influencer who clickbaited and trolled her whole career. I'd say that the problem with Julia Zelg, like with early Trisha, is that she does clickbait, she does overshare. Yet unlike early Trisha, Julia expects her audience to buy into who she authentically is and expects her audience to like her as they used to. And who Julia authentically is already comes across as very influencer fake. I do tend to sympathize with her more than her detractors, just because, in my opinion, she does a great deal of masking due to her mental struggles. But then she also has this persona, and when that is muddled all together, it unfortunately doesn't make people like her very much. And through the years, this has proved to be a very toxic dynamic that she has with her audience, and it mirrored the toxicity of her marriage. Now, there's something very evident in Julia's dynamic with her older partners pre and post Eileen, and this is that she, A, as I've already mentioned, likes to transform them, and B, she infantilizes them. And this infantilizing is something that a lot of our culture generally does toward older people, talking to them like children, using exaggerated language, treating them like pets. And I think it's telling that Meryl, who didn't like this dynamic at all, was replaced by Eileen, who, for lack of a better phrase, lapped that shit up.
You're so cute!
No, you're so
adorable.
cute.
So now that I'm officially back with my baby.
You're so cute. Oh, baby. We can at least have lunch together before I do a little bit more work.
Oh, great. Can't wait.
Here you go, darling.
Baby, I'm sorry. I gotta hold my leggy there. Great. Oh, it looks fantastic. Can you throw this out? And also, are you drinking the Diet Coke?
No.
No, can you throw that out? Just dropped it on the floor. Thank you.
Sure.
There's a whole Diet Coke here. Did you just open that?
No, it's not. It's not cold. It's from, I don't know, from earlier. I didn't open it.
Well, I certainly didn't open it. It's brand new.
No, it's not brand new. I think it's just cold because it's cold in the house. Because I didn't open a new Diet Coke.
Well, I mean, you're welcome to. I'm just saying, don't forget that you open them. You always do that. Anyway.
Here you go, my love.
One thing that was immediately suggested by Eileen's arrest and the context leading up to that arrest is that Eileen doesn't like taking responsibility for her actions. She's bad with money and her job resume is mysterious, to say the least. In short, since Eileen's arrest scandal, it became abundantly clear that Eileen had no money. This fact made the infantilizing even more apparent. The infantilizing Juleen dynamic was one that allowed the elder partner, the designated child, to enjoy the validation of being showered in love and affection. But on the downside, it also, like with a child, allowed them to not take adult responsibility for their actions. Eileen gets arrested and Julia bails her out, pays her debts, and even claimed in the original video that the whole ordeal made her love Eileen even more. But the person who always suffers from a child or an infantilized adult not taking responsibility for their actions isn't the child or the infantilized adult. It's the parent, the caregiver, the Julias who infantilize them and then wonder why the child won't grow up. Just from watching their content together, in my opinion, Eileen loved this infantilizing dynamic. Contrary to the belief of many of the millions viewing their relationship online, if anything, Julia was Eileen's sugar mommy. She was the one taking care of her. She was paying for everything. She cooked all the meals.
I always love your meals.
I'm the only one who cooks in the house, and I always cook vegetarian because I don't know how to cook meat because I've been a vegetarian for so long. So I've been eating just my stuff, but I don't know when you actually stopped eating meat.
There's only one instance that I could find of Eileen actually standing up to being infantilized. Now, this involved a rather major controversy at the time where Julia had tooth surgery and Eileen didn't go with her because, you know, being the infantilized partner means you don't have to do grown-up things like take your partner to and from surgery. Now, as I said, this was quite a big controversy at the time, just because not only did Julia walk an hour to the hospital, but after having the procedure and being under anesthetic, she was clearly still woo-woo, and it took her 3 hours to find her way back home.
So Phoebe went to work and I'm walking home, and it's about an hour long walk. But because I had surgery and everything's taking me like 3 hours. And there's still like a long way to go, but I found this and now like I'm highly entertained. Oh wow, amazing. I'm listening to Fernando by ABBA and like having a great time. Red lights. Yes.
Anyway, Julia, after expressing how disappointed this whole ordeal made her feel, immediately gives Eileen all the excuses typical of a parent not letting their naughty child take responsibility for their wrongdoing.
And I was wrong not to go. That is the truth. I was wrong not to go. And you gave me a choice, as you always do. You're probably too easygoing.
I mean, yeah, really it's my fault because, I mean, in all honesty, we're being like 100% open here, right?
Yeah.
In all honesty, I was a little upset with you that you didn't go to my surgery.
Yeah.
But it was kind of my fault because you asked me if, oh, do I really need to be there? And I was like, oh no, don't worry about it, I don't mind. But really I minded, but I didn't want to be a pain in the ass. So it was really my fault. I mean, in my opinion, it's not really a big deal because it wasn't like a surgery. It was more an extraction than anything else, although it was a little more complicated than that. I mean, I was just upset when I was there because I did feel like a little alone. But thinking back now and before the actual surgery as well, I didn't mind. And it's not a big deal because it was such a minor thing and I told you I didn't mind, so it's not your fault. It's fine.
No, you had a right to expect that I should be with you, and it was reasonable for you to expect that, and I failed you in that. I mean, I just did.
No,
it doesn't mean I fail you in our relationship,
that's okay.
but I failed you there, and I was you know, responding from my own selfish, like, you know, if you need me to go.
Surprisingly, Eileen doesn't give in and actually stands up for herself.
So I was saying that I really failed you that day. I mean, I really, really did, and there's no blame that should be placed on you. No. Please let me finish. I have a lot to say about this, and I need you to please let me say it. And that is that you were right. I mean, it's not a question of right. You weren't in any way wrong. I'm somebody that's used to doing things alone, but I didn't really think it through. That you know, you might think, how could you not think it through? It's dental surgery. And you know.
Okay. Don't worry. I don't want you to feel bad, and I don't want anyone to think badly of you because of that. Because it's such a minor thing. Like, don't worry.
But it's what happened. It's what happens. I'm sorry.
And it's my fault, really, because it is because of the way I am with you, because you're my baby. So, so not just with that, but with things in general. You know, sometimes people say, "Oh, Eileen doesn't do this, doesn't do that," and it's because I spoil you.
You do indulge me. You do indulge me a lot.
Now, this is a perfect example of an infantilized adult trying to take responsibility for their wrongdoing and being told, "No, you're my baby,"
because you're my baby.
Being given the thumbs up to weaponize their incompetence. Now, even though there was this dynamic between them, there was something a little conflicting. Although Julia was clearly the breadwinner in this relationship, she was also very dependent on Eileen in order to be the breadwinner. The two were living in Eileen's apartment, and Eileen was essentially what was making Julia money. Their content together became more sensational and clickbaity. For instance, there was the infamous pregnancy situation that wasn't.
I can't wait to see my results.
Yeah, me too.
Eileen and I had been talking for the last year about maybe starting a family, but we kept going back and forth because obviously it's a very big and serious decision. We have to consider a lot of things, including our age difference.
Yeah.
So I took a fertility test. Okay, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, let's look together. Okay, get your glasses.
Oh my God, I'm so nervous.
You have the average number of
eggs. Oh, baby, that's so great. Oh, baby, that's really fantastic.
I'm elated for Julia that everything was sound with her fertility, but I'm confused as to why a film crew was there.
This morning, actually, we opened a test that I took, a fertility test, and we found out that everything is good. So based on that, we've made a decision. And are you ready? Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready, baby.
We are gonna start a family.
Her friends' faces kill me.
But we want to wait a couple of years first.
Done.
I love influencers so much. People were really annoyed with how much of a nothing burger this whole situation was, and also how it was never brought up ever again. It felt like this was purely for the documentary team, and as such, it felt quite off to many people. By, I would say, the second year of their marriage, Eileen's demeanor had evolved. She was initially always on the channel and was clearly putting her best foot forward. Although Eileen was special in being a willing, enthusiastic participant on the channel, I don't think she truly realized that Julia's online success was directly because of their relationship, was directly because of her. Now, during the channel's peak, it wasn't because of Julia's music or vlogs that people were subscribing and watching. Basically, I would say that people weren't there for Julia, they were there for Julia's age gap lesbian relationship. And therefore, Eileen had to keep being a part of the content in order for the views and money to keep coming in. And I don't think this was something that Eileen had bet on. Over time, it became obvious that Eileen was featuring not because she wanted to, but because she was caught in this cycle that was very clear from Julia's video titles and thumbnails. These videos all garnered the most views for Julia, but also put Eileen in some compromising positions. Viewers began to quickly notice that Eileen was always at home, she was always looking at her phone or computer, computer during vlogs, and eventually she quite literally stopped going on travel vlogs and holidays with Julia altogether.
Oh, I know a lot of you are gonna ask about my wife. Is my wife here with me? And I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I'm probably oversharing, but I'm just gonna tell you what's up. She was supposed to be here. It's gonna be a really cool trip because it's gonna be Costa Rica, Panama, Brazil, Canada, and then back to the UK. So Eileen wasn't gonna come to Costa Rica anyway because of the adventure stuff, because we're gonna have to be walking and doing like very like physical things, and she is not into that, and she also has like a frozen shoulder and a knee injury, so that wasn't gonna work. But she was supposed to meet me in Brazil after here. She had a plane ticket and everything, but then she decided not to go anymore because of the pandemic and because she didn't want someone else that wasn't her or me to look after our pets while we were out traveling together. And I understand her reasons. They are both very valid and responsible reasons, but of course I was very upset because we had this all planned and everything, and maybe it's like oversharing to tell you this, but yeah, I was upset and we had a little bit of an argument about it, but everything is okay now. We kind of like agreed to disagree, because I personally think it's okay to travel as long as you're responsible about it. Like, I'm triple vaxxed. I am getting tested every time, you know, before getting on the plane, and more than that, I get tested very often, and I wear a mask. I think that although I'm traveling, I'm trying to be very responsible about it, but she thinks it's better just not to travel at all, which is also a valid opinion. It's okay to not agree with people you love sometimes. So yeah, that's what's happening. She's not coming anymore. I was very upset.
Julia's brand is very much, as I said, about oversharing, but being in close proximity to the source of her problems, and also having based her brand on how positive, wonderful, and happy age gap love can be, she couldn't actually share anything of what was really going on without losing credibility and the thing she relied on more than anything, which is, as I said, validation. But people could read between the lines. I really hope she finds somebody that's equal to her in zest for life, motivation, love of travel, and energy to experience what this world has to offer. I wanted to make a comment about Eileen. I think she was never going to come to Brazil. It seems to me that she got the ticket just to show you how much she wanted to go. Otherwise, if she already believed that it's not safe to travel, why would she buy it in the first place? Please don't fall for her manipulation. Your feelings are valid. I know I don't know you or your relationship. It's just the feeling I get by watching your interactions. During Julia and Eileen's whole relationship, it was very interesting that Julia's channel wasn't growing in the way that it initially had. In the past 3 years, she's only gained 4,000 subscribers, which is odd for someone of her size who uploads sometimes up to 3 times a week. I would argue that the main reason for her lack of growth and low views was because of how this age gap relationship was manifesting and how it was being presented. The happy, positive vibes exterior didn't add up to what viewers were seeing. For instance, Julia entered a beauty pageant, and typically when you do these kinds of things, traveling far away to compete, you have your significant other around to support you. You have your family with you. But there was this really, I'd say quite sad moment during the pageant vlog where some subscribers recognized Julia sitting all alone, and they asked her where Eileen was.
Where's Eileen?
She's at home. She was supposed to come with me,
But she wasn't.
but then she said she's not really into pageants. And then she said, take a friend. And I said, okay. And then my friend missed the bus, so I'm alone.
Now, although this clearly was not nice of Eileen, there is definitely a theme when it comes to the older people in Julia's life. Her mother even said in a Q&A that Julia is quite insistent on traveling and going out, and this is one thing she'd change about her.
Now, I am super curious about this one. This is the one I was looking forward to the most. What would you change about Julia and why?
Não, em princípio nada.
Thank you.
Ela é perfeita. A única coisa é que ela é bastante insistente, assim, fica pedindo pra eu sair em muitos lugares, assim, insiste muito. Gostaria que ela fosse um pouquinho mais compreensiva, porque eu já tenho uma certa idade, eu sou uma pessoa muito caseira. E só isso, só um pouquinho mais compreensiva nesse sentido. De resto, tá tudo ótimo.
Desculpa, mãezinha.
Não precisa pedir desculpas, você é assim. E eu sou assim.
This insistent nature of Julia's definitely does come across in how she features her relationships on her channel, even when you can clearly see that the person doesn't want to be there or is camera shy.
Let's say bye to Eileen. Eileen went back to bed because we actually went to sleep very late yesterday because we were watching Netflix until late. Let me just say bye to her. Look at her. So cute. Bye, baby.
Hi, baby, baby.
I love you, baby.
So much. Please be careful, right, baby?
She's snoring. Bless her. Beverly's doing the dirty work for me.
Oh, come on, Pop. No, don't let her explain to me.
Good morning, baby.
Hi, darling. Oh, hi, baby. Oh, Beverly, stop.
And I do think there was an element of this in Eileen not wanting to travel as much. She was in her late 60s, she had knee problems and health issues, she was more of a homebody, and the influencer lifestyle it's a lot. And the influencer lifestyle for Julia was a lot because that lifestyle demands that you travel and get in debt. Basically, after Julia bailed Eileen out of jail, nobody realized how much debt she was actually in. Tragically, her grandfather passed away and she couldn't afford to travel back home to Brazil for the funeral. And at the time, she blamed herself. It was because she wasn't smart with money and hadn't saved.
And I can't even be there with my family to go to his funeral because I'm such a dumbass and I don't have any savings and I don't have enough to buy a ticket and go to Brazil because they're super expensive and I feel so stupid.
But it was actually because she'd spent thousands on Eileen's legal costs. Now, I do think there's a bit more nuance to this. Julia had been making a lot of money since meeting Eileen, and she self-admittedly had wanted a big public fairy tale wedding, even though Eileen hadn't. Julia also wanted to go on pre-wedding travel trips and a nice honeymoon, all of which she paid for herself. And being an influencer also means you travel and document those travels. And so I think Julia, unbeknownst to herself, found herself in a bit of a bind. She was married to a woman with no income. Her income depended on this woman. Julia's income was going towards paying for the financial problems that this woman brought into the marriage. And Julia was under pressure to keep up with the influencer lifestyle, to jet set and spend her income in order to make income. Let's just say the bachelor effect soon wore off.
Oh my god, after an amazing but also hectic trip, I'm back in London with the love of my life.
I'm so glad you're back, baby.
Oh god, I missed you.
Now, during these 3 years, Julia was very influencer coded in not letting on that anything was wrong. And I do think this also had to do with the fact that she was such a public and outspoken advocate of age gap relationships. To acknowledge that her age gap marriage wasn't going well would have completely undermined the credibility of her entire branding. But regardless of what Julia said, it was very clear that her viewers were turning off Eileen. They thought the relationship was toxic and they didn't like how disingenuous their over-exaggerated and overshared displays of love felt. Whilst her audience was expressing how concerned they were, Julia dismissed this as either being hate or people speculating into what they didn't know. Now, cracks inevitably did begin to show in very obvious ways.
Come on, Eileen. La 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 la. Put your phone away, Eileen.
Okay, hold it.
Come on, Eileen. Na 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 na. Stop texting them, bitches.
There was one video where Julia decided to cut her wedding dress.
God, why did I do this?
Obviously, it went a bit pear-shaped, and whilst Julia is crying and in clear distress, Eileen calls to console her on the phone from the other room.
Yeah, hi, sorry, buddy. What about doing something where you're at this spot in the video?
Why are you calling me instead of coming in the room?
Oh, I don't know. I just thought...
It's okay, because of the lights?
Yeah, can I just tell you what I was going to say?
Okay.
But I think it's worth seeing, going to a professional.
Oh, I really it up.
Oh, darling, it's okay. I mean, it's okay. It's just, in the end of the day, it's just a dress. You know what I mean?
Well, it's not. It's special. I messed it up. I thought it was gonna be okay, but I cut it too short.
Eileen hearing her crying and not coming into the room is wild. This is going to be one of the meanest sounding things I've ever said, but your YouTube would be doing better if you weren't in that relationship. And that's not even some strong opinion of mine, but based on the comments and reactions over the years. There was also the infamous Hairgate situation. This video was a perfect example of everything off in this relationship and why so many people thought that Julia and Eileen were acting. Of course, they loved each other and there was absolutely no acting there, but it was becoming obvious that, at least to an extent, a facade was being put on. The camera is rolling, but the tension is rising. The video starts off with Julia telling us that Eileen is going to dye her hair red, and initially Eileen is okay with this. But this quickly turns into that Daria episode where Jane kindly coerces Daria into dyeing her hair because apparently it's so easy. Julia keeps smiling throughout, but Eileen gets really, really upset because dyeing Julia's hair is too much work.
Oh my God, I'm gonna get this everywhere dyed. I mean, really, can I just do one side and you do them? Well, I mean, I think you take for granted how easy it might be for you, but it's just not a natural thing.
Oh, honey, you're getting on my arm.
Darling, I'm sorry, I'm not a hair person. This is a nightmare, to tell you the truth. Look at that. It's like you're by yourself. This is Eileen. Darling, I'm sorry, but...
Oh my God, why are you putting so much dye on it?
I don't know what I'm doing. And, oh shit. Oh, fuck.
Oh my God, I'm moving, I get more on my
This is a disaster. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry, but I didn't know what I was signing up for. I'm sorry. Like I said, my hair's down to here. I put it in like it's shampoo, and then I rub it all throughout my hair. And it works, I mean, generally speaking, it works.
I mean, you can try to do that if you want.
But not with long hair. I mean, your hair's like 5 times longer than mine. It's a lot of work. I did this to participate and help you with a video. But
don't be upset. Are you actually getting upset?
No, I'm really upset. It's a lot of work, and it's like, I could never have known what it would be like.
No, don't be upset. It's just funny.
Okay. But no, I feel like look at you. You're a mess. And you're not usually a mess.
It's like, I'll survive.
You know what I mean?
Don't be upset. It's okay. It's not a big deal. It's just hair.
No, but it's very stressful on me. Is what I'm thinking.
On you?
No, I mean I don't like making a mess of you, and I'm very stressed out by how much work it is. Because it is a lot of work, and it's late at night, and I didn't know it was going to be like this. I mean, I'm not doing the layering, as you can see.
It's okay. Just go for whatever makes you happy.
I'm just getting it everywhere.
You don't have to do the whole length with the brush if you don't want to. It's easier to just do it with your paws.
Well, I'm trying. Yeah, okay. You say it's easier. I'm not really sure, but oh my God.
Don't worry, baby. It's okay. It's not a big deal.
Well, whatever. You're a really good sport.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, you really are. You're so good-natured about things. I mean, I'm getting all diva over here. But I mean, I think I have good reason to be. You know what I mean? I had no idea it would be this complicated.
Well, that was a situation. I can see both sides. I can see it from the perspective of Eileen, who didn't want to do it and felt somewhat pressured into it. But I can also see it from the perspective of Julia, who was trying to make money for them and saw it as quite a straightforward and unserious thing. The tension is rising in this overly lovey-dovey age gap relationship. I think things really came to a head on a live Q&A. This was the first time in well over a year that Eileen went on holiday with Julia, and it would later later be revealed that Julia had essentially offered Eileen an ultimatum to go on holiday with her or else. And let me just say, I have never felt so weirdly uncomfortable watching two people aware that they're live and therefore being overly lovey-dovey and smiley, yet airing out their dirty laundry and frustrations because it's getting a bit hard to fake.
If you could change something about your relationship, what would it be? Oh. Okay, you go first.
No, you go first.
Oh, I don't want to be like offensive.
That's okay.
No,
go ahead. No, go ahead. That's what live streaming is for.
Okay, yeah. I would make Eileen be a little bit more responsible with money.
Yeah.
Because Eileen can be a bit like
compulsive
with like credit and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's a thing that I worry about her, but it's something that affects both of us because we're married.
Yeah.
If I could change one thing, that would be it.
Yeah, that's an important
Sorry, was that okay to say to people?
Yeah, sure. I think it's a personal issue, but I don't mind that you
I mean, I didn't know what else to say in real life.
And I also think it's important to be honest.
Yeah. What would you change about me? About our relationship, really.
That I wish I could equal your vitality in terms of going out and doing stuff.
Oh,
you know,
darling.
but you seem to do pretty well.
Well, you do great. I mean, look at us. We spent the day at the beach. You're pretty lively.
You think so? You're not I can get really annoyed by things. You know that, right? I don't get annoyed by you.
I think you get very annoyed by me.
Oh, I do? Okay, well, if you want to talk about the other thing.
Because I'm messy.
There's this creative part of you that has a certain energy. And when you're in
mess,
a lot of times you'll go through clothing and you literally will take something off and just throw it over there, and then you'll try something else on and throw it over there. So you end up making piles of clothes.
Put it on the chair, not like on the floor.
Oh no, you're not like a pig.
Julia, does it upset you that Eileen doesn't travel with you much? Yeah. It's okay.
But it's different now.
Well, we're traveling together right now as we speak. Yay.
Yeah.
What is the worst thing your partner has done to you? I don't know. What was the worst thing I've done to you?
I guess yelled at me.
Oh, baby, I'm sorry for yelling.
But you're so lovely, and to have made you mad enough to yell at me just broke my heart, you know.
Well, so I think my answer would be the same. Because you've yelled at me.
Yeah.
Probably more than I've yelled at you.
Oh, have I really?
Well, more than I've yelled at you, probably.
Yeah.
Not that you've yelled much, but I'm less likely to yell.
Reactive. No, that's true. But we should maybe experience.
So when nobody's buying into your seemingly perfect relationship, when things aren't actually going well, but you're incredibly codependent in your romantic and financial dynamic with one another, what do? Well, you open up your messy and toxic relationship.
This is my beautiful wife, Eileen, and we decided to open our marriage a while ago.
Now, I just want to put this into context. The reason this went so viral across all social medias was because Julia and Eileen had persistently been adamant, absolutely adamant, that their relationship was solid, it was amazing, it was fulfilling. So this opening up of their relationship came as somewhat of a shock.
We were really struggling as a couple.
Yeah, it was tough.
We live in a small space. I was getting my master's degree and working full-time, all from home, and Eileen was retired, and that kind of put a bit of a stressor.
A major stressor.
And I felt a bit alone.
Yeah.
Like I needed more moral support because of that. I was always putting too much pressure on you.
I think for us what happened was our shortcomings as people and as a couple were just exacerbated by the unnatural closeness.
I was trying to do all these things on my own, and I struggle with depression and anxiety, so I was kind of spiraling down in this depression thing, and I tried to on the live a couple of times. But also it wasn't fair for me to put that much pressure on Eileen because she's 66 now. She has the right to be retired. She doesn't have to live life on the same pace as me. Because of the age difference, we are at different stages of our lives.
Yeah.
So we kind of hit a breaking point, and we had to just make some changes to our relationship so we could still be happy together. But one of the things that we decided to do was to open our marriage.
Yeah.
And that allowed me to take the pressure off you.
I'm no relationship expert, but bringing other people into your failing relationship is not healthy. Just in case anybody is wondering. Being monogamous and thinking that opening up your relationship will save your monogamous relationship by fulfilling needs and wants that you aren't able to fulfill in that monogamous relationship is not polyamory. In fact, that whole gobbledygook of a sentence that I just tried to spiel is a dumpster fire in contradiction. In my opinion, these two were conflating their codependency for love at this point. It was better to be dysfunctionally together than to be functionally alone and single. Ethical non-monogamy is currently trending across the rich world. Memoirs like More, a memoir of open marriage, and reality shows like Open House are taking it mainstream in ways which I personally find very conflicting. The vast majority of us are monogamous, and yet monogamy is looking more and more difficult to achieve, with relationship success rates in the gutter and a never-ending cost of living crisis, which makes it virtually impossible for people to settle down into the picket fence American dream by their late 20s. It's no wonder we're looking for and being sold new and exciting alternatives. Better to be in an alternative relationship than to be alone forever. And the reason I mention this mainstreaming of ethical non-monogamy is because Julia and Eileen's announcement was the absolute perfect example of why the mainstreaming of non-monogamy, when people are entering into these relationships for the wrong reasons, is a slippery slope for most. Importantly, throughout the video, Julia and Eileen conflated open marriage and polyamory. Now, being in an open relationship means you have a primary partner, but both parties can have other sexual partners. It isn't about forming an emotional attachment to your sexual partners in as much as it is about having sex with other people. Swinging is probably the best example of an open relationship. On the other hand, polyamory refers to having multiple relationships that are not only sexual, but importantly, emotional. There isn't a primary relationship to go back to. Each relationship holds emotional significance. And importantly, when it comes to ethical non-monogamy, there's rules that are clearly defined, and not abiding by those established rules is considered cheating and is oftentimes why these relationship styles can become rather a slippery slope if all parties involved aren't honest, open, and healthy at all times. You can't fall in love when you're in an open relationship, and yet separating emotions from sex is difficult for most, especially when you're opening your relationship in order to save your unfulfilling or failing monogamous relationship. And this is why I would say that ethical non-monogamy is not for the vast majority of people in the modern world. The conflating of open relationships and polyamory is stark in Julia and Eileen's coming out video. I do think this is because the mainstream has been the main culprit in spreading such misinformation about polyamorous people and about open relationships. It felt as if Julia wanted to open the relationship, that is, be primary partners with Eileen while simply having sex with other people, but at the same time, the two were acknowledging that Eileen couldn't fulfill Julia's emotional needs, which is not what open relationships are about. That is what polyamorous relationships are about. Also, and I mean no offense by this, but it was pretty clear that Eileen was not seeing other people. And I only say this not because of what we know of Eileen, but because of a music video that Julia had released just before they announced their open relationship. In July 2023, Julia had released a new single and music video called Eat You Alive. The music video is about a coven of sexy femme sapphic vampires who lure a maid, played by Eileen, into their bedroom, and they proceed to, well, anyway, instead of turning her into a vampire, Julia actually unalives Eileen and eats her heart. I'm gonna eat you alive. There's a lot to read into this. What was interesting was Eileen's response to seeing the music video for the first time. What's important here is that Eileen claimed not to realize that in the music video, Julia kissed other women. And this is Eileen's live reaction to finding out.
Make your knees feel weak. Oh, you did kiss her.
Oh yeah, you weren't in the room.
I know, I wasn't in the room.
I forgot about that. Oh, I forgot you hadn't seen this yet.
Yeah, no, I hadn't seen it at all. Cannot breathe. Oh, and her too. You didn't tell me about this.
Yes, I did.
No, you did. You didn't tell me that there was more than. You didn't tell me there's more than one that you kissed.
Did I actually not?
No, you didn't. Really.
I'm sorry. I thought I did.
No, I mean,
I sent you the script.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
You didn't send me the script.
I sent you the script.
No, I swear to God, you did.
Seriously?
Yeah, and you didn't have it.
I sent
here.
everybody involved the script.
I didn't get the script. No.
Oh.
No.
I suppose because they're like half of me, I thought you were already like by osmosis.
Yeah, right.
So
Well, I was about to say I didn't see it laying around here, but it wouldn't because you have it electronically.
It's online, yeah.
I
can't believe I didn't share the script with you.
No, I didn't. I didn't know anything about the shoot. Yeah, no, you really didn't.
Oh.
Yeah, I know.
I didn't share the most important person.
Yeah, I know.
I'm sorry, darling.
Okay.
These are the moments that make life worth living.
That's all right, darling.
Don't y'all are thinking now, poor Eileen, she didn't know you were gonna kiss the girls, but she also kissed girls. You wait for it.
And you knew it because you wrote the script.
I wrote the script, yes.
This had also been an issue, albeit not as big an issue, in Julia's previous music video, where she made out with a woman and for some reason made a video of Eileen reacting to it, where Eileen seems a bit taken aback.
My wife reacts to my music video.
Wow, it's very steamy.
Whoa, sorry.
Whoa. You look like you're really into it. She's very sexy. Sorry. It's kind of exciting in its way. I never thought I wanted to see you with another woman.
And I only bring this up because considering Eileen's response to Julia kissing other women in acted out music videos, it is probably indicative of how intensely monogamous these two were. Eileen was clearly jealous, and jealousy is a primary destroyer of ethically non-monogamous relationships. As I said, this video went completely viral on Instagram and on TikTok, and its longer form on YouTube generated the highest views Julia's channel has seen in some time. Now, the internet's response was very, very negative. Basically, Julia was accused of coercing Eileen into opening their marriage because clearly Eileen wasn't seeing other people.
Me and my wife have an age gap and an open marriage.
We've been married for 4.5 years now, and we are ethically non-monogamous. And we're going to be answering the top questions about our open marriage.
So another thing that people had been interested in knowing is, are we dating together or separately?
We've been dating separately for the moment because sometimes we're not attracted to the same people because we're so different and we have different types. So we haven't, but if the opportunity presented itself, we would be open to it.
Yeah. I mean, you know, of course that would probably be somebody's first thought. So are you looking for a third?
Yeah.
But the thing is, I think what compelled us to this period of exploration was the quality of each of us turning like away from the other and looking for something to complete. You know what I mean?
And also more like on an emotional level. To me, it's not too much like of a we're not
looking for titillation.
We're not just doing this because we're horny. It's just
right.
It's what we thought would be better for our relationship.
Yes, you're so cute. You're so shy.
I'm blushing now. So we haven't dated together, but we've introduced each other to people.
Julia was also accused of wanting to sleep around with other people whilst being a gold digger. Both of them were accused of holding onto a marriage that clearly wasn't working if Julia's emotional needs weren't being met in the marriage. And I'd say that the most revealing thing to come out of this entire controversy was that Julia's Reddit was, they were already on the ball. Basically, many people felt that Julia had only come out with this announcement because she had already been seeing someone else, courtesy of information provided by the Reddit page. People were pretty much on Eileen's side, or believed that the two should break up because this relationship clearly wasn't working out. But as we know by now, Julia couldn't handle the pressure and expectations of clickbaiting her content. She had no boundaries, she was too emotionally invested, and the comments were brutal and were clearly too much for her to handle. And a week later, she released a bombshell video.
Today I'm gonna talk about things that I've wanted to talk about for a very long time, but I never felt I could because I never wanted to paint my wife in a bad light. But now it got to a point where I just have to talk about it, and I just have to tell you what is going on, because people have such a completely wrong idea of what actually happened. I fully gave myself and all my love to her. I really did. I know I made mistakes, but I have always tried to be a good wife, and I think I'm being a good wife for her.
In short, this video finally confirmed something that Julia's audience pretty much already knew, but never had the clear-cut confirmation for. Julia was an unreliable narrator. Now, I think there's a difference between two things. I think there's a difference between a creator choosing to keep their peace and privacy by not sharing something, and a creator choosing to share something that isn't true in order to draw attention away from what is actually going on. The former is completely and irrefutably valid. The latter can have dire consequences, and we'll get back to this. Because Julia had no boundaries with her audience, she couldn't tell them to respect her privacy. Because she clickbaited most of her content, her credibility was always in question. And because she'd created this branding and narrative that everything was healthy, positive, and fulfilling in her age gap relationship, her content felt somewhat disingenuous. It sort of felt like she wasn't protecting her privacy in as much as giving people ammunition to critique and speculate into her privacy. And what came out in this video were pretty much a series of bombshell revelations. Julia and Eileen hadn't opened up their marriage because they wanted to spice things up or find emotional support during times of stress, as they claimed. They opened up their marriage to save it. Eileen wasn't actually a mature, well-functioning, and financially secure retired boomer. She was actually completely broke and entirely dependent on credit and Julia for money.
At that time, we decided like that I was gonna pay like the bills and stuff and take care of us, because like Eileen was unemployed, but she was also like letting me film our relationship and post it online, which was also like helping me financially, because the channel did grow a lot at that time. So I thought, you know, it's like a partnership, we're doing this together, like it's we both thought it was fair at that time, and it was.
This had actually never been confirmed before. It was also finally confirmed that Julia had gone into crippling debt when she bailed Eileen out of jail. She pleaded with Eileen to get a job to help get them through financially, but Eileen had refused on the basis of her age. And the rumors about Eileen's pretty shady financial history were pretty much confirmed by Julia in this video after years of either ignoring comments about it or dismissing concerns about the marriage as mere hate. After Eileen was arrested on their honeymoon, what Julia found out and went through financially definitely fits the definitions of financial infidelity and financial abuse. However, it does make Julia's role as an age gap advocate somewhat concerning. A younger partner wouldn't have had the excuse of being retired to not work in order to financially support the marriage and their partner. Being retired and too old was definitely a running theme of why Eileen couldn't travel with Julia, why she couldn't take her to and from the hospital, why she couldn't work when Julia got herself into debt for her. And this video was also an indication of toxicity. Bringing your marital problems to the internet in this way was not reassuring anybody about the state of things. Although Julia tried to reassure everyone that she was just clearing things up, that she was sick and tired of being called a gold digger when she was in fact the breadwinner, it was no surprise when just 3 months after announcing the opening of their marriage, Julia and Eileen came to the internet with some truly sad and of course unexpected news.
Me and Eileen have decided to file for divorce. You probably already know why if you've been following us for the last few months. I posted a video talking all about our marital problems.
Julia's divorce was expected. It wasn't something that anybody actually seemed to criticize her for, and in fact, her comment section has never been so positive. The top comment, "We're not upset, we're actually happy about this." Now, just like the divorce was expected, so was the lack of responsibility taken due to the infantilizing dynamic Julia had with Eileen.
Like, I know I failed in the relationship, and that's the problem.
Oh, I have to in many ways.
I mean, I can't name any. And I realized I fully own that it was me. You know what I mean? What's that Taylor Swift thing?
It's me.
It's me, I'm the problem.
No, I mean, I should have walked away sooner. And I should have, instead of making things unhealthy, and that's on me.
What was unexpected was how parasocial the whole divorce process was. Let's just say Julia's divorce became an era in and of itself. There was the divorce announcement video with the not at all parasocial statement that Julia and Eileen had decided to tell us, the audience, before officially starting divorce proceedings.
Yeah, we're gonna be divorced. Yeah. We haven't started procedures or anything yet because we wanted to talk to you first. I think a lot during our troubles, I think I should have talked to you sooner than I did, because I think some people were upset that I didn't because they were following us from the beginning.
There was the not at all parasocial series of divorce update videos.
As most of you know, me and my wife are getting divorced, and you have been sending me a lot of questions about it. So today I'm gonna be answering some of your divorce related questions.
Me and my wife have decided to get divorced after 5 years of marriage.
Oh, it feels like it's the end, doesn't it?
Oh,
sorry. No, it's almost like we're still filming, it's still like a thing.
Yeah.
And now that when we turn off the camera, we've been, oh my god.
Oh, darling, it's okay, my baby. Oh, it's alright, darling. It's okay. Oh, my darling. Oh. Well, don't give up on love. It's worth it.
It's worth it. Even if it ends like this, it's still worth it because it was the best time ever.
Really was.
It was really beautiful.
Yeah, I'll always remember the extraordinary love that we've had.
Me and my wife are getting divorced, but we're still co-parenting our pets.
Julia and Eileen's love story.
I'm so happy to introduce you to my beautiful, beautiful girlfriend. So we are getting matching tattoos today because we are mad. I am forever yours, my Eileen, in this life and for all eternity. I love you. Eileen is in freaking jail. Here's Eileen's mugshot.
There was then Eileen's response video to the divorce, which was basically a Dr. Phil episode minus Dr. Phil. It was really just yet another example of the three-way relationship that Julia and Eileen had with their audience.
I mean, I know people are just going to go crazy with, why would you pay a cent for her to get out of prison when she didn't have any money and you're spending, you spent all this money, all your savings on the wedding?
Well, of course I would, because I didn't want you to get beaten up.
Yeah. The point is, and I think you're too kind to say, is that you married somebody with no resources. Do you know what I mean? And
it's not, no, but that's the thing that you get wrong. It's not about the money or resources, is you putting yourself and us in that situation.
That's what I'm saying.
So no, yeah, but you said you married someone without resources. It makes it sound like, oh, it's because it was a problem because you didn't have money for the ticket. That's not the problem. The problem is me not having the money because of the situation that happened.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying the same thing that we didn't. I'm saying we didn't have the money.
Okay. You probably will disagree with this, but that's how I remember it. I paid this credit card.
You didn't pay my credit.
Yeah, what I remember is at first I paid for it
when you first maxed it out. Yeah.
You didn't pay.
But then down the line.
That's not true. You didn't pay me credit card.
I remember transferring money to that.
No, I don't know what you're talking about. But you have not paid any of these.
I did the first one. The first one I did.
I'm sorry, I disagree with you. I have a real understanding of what I've used those credit cards for, and there was, you have had nothing to. I've got you copies of the cards. You never used
guitars. I remember you got guitars.
But that had nothing to do with you.
I asked you if you could get a part-time job just temporarily to help me pay it back.
And then you borrow money from our friends. And then you pay that back, which is already really unfair, you know what I mean? And why I didn't act, I don't know. In part, it is because I haven't worked, since I left America, really, you know what I mean? And I've meant to maybe go back to technical writing, and then I haven't, I've just been, anyway, and then for you to ask me that December, I think it was, could I get some kind of a job, just like anything, a clerk, I couldn't see myself going back to that.
There was then the official divorce song.
My dad's a bastard, my wife's a bitch.
An official divorce music video.
You are the one to be. I've got no credit card, never wrote a check. You are the one good thing that I have going for me right now.
The behind the scenes footage from the official divorce music video.
Please, I'm innocent, I swear, I'm innocent, please don't do this. No.
There was then the infamous divorce party.
Get ready with me for my divorce party. First things first, let's do some makeup. Ta-da! Look at my dress. Oh!
Hi! We're at our divorce party.
Three, two, one. Whee! Happy divorce!
And the punch.
Oh my god, I can't believe I'm filming this. This is gonna be the most special video ever because I am here with the most special person ever. I would like to introduce you to my wonderful boyfriend, Keith.
Hello.
Honestly, easily the best influencer ever. Who needs LA influencers when you have Julia Zelg? Now, as I've already said several times, according to Julia, the age gap was not the reason for her divorce. She's still an advocate of age gap relationships, and there is, in my opinion, a reason for this. Julia announced her divorce in March 2024. By June 2024, the internet was introduced to Keith.
My name's Keith Wood.
Beautiful name.
Very simple.
I like it. It's a nice surname. Nice first name too, but...
A lot of history to it.
Is there?
From the wood. It's from wood. Ancient times wood.
Now, Julia had been seeing Keith for, I think the timeline is a bit iffy. Some say for a few months, others say that she'd been seeing him for a year or even longer than that. But regardless, Julia had been seeing Keith for a while, but hadn't been open about it, which wouldn't have been a problem at all, except for the fact that during this time, she appeared in a Jubilee video titled Liberal Lesbians versus Conservative Lesbians, and was reportedly picked up by her boyfriend after filming. And personally, I don't care, but people were not happy about this at the time, especially as rumors had already been circulating for quite a while that she was dating a man while still being an advocate for not just age gap relationships, but lesbian age gap and lesbian relationships. Now, remember when I said that there's a difference between two things, between an influencer keeping their peace and privacy but not sharing something, and an influencer sharing something that isn't true in order to draw attention away from what is actually going on? Remember when I said that the former is completely valid, but the latter can unfortunately have dire consequences for the influencer? Well, the Keith era is a perfect example of the latter, and why Julia right now is, I would say, quite heavily disliked. Now, I just want to be very clear that Julia's sexual orientation and how it evolves is her business, and and it is completely valid. She does not have to share that information with anybody. I think the problem for her came when, instead of keeping her peace and privacy, she instead presented her new relationship with Keith as her exploring her sexuality with men in the context of her open relationship with Eileen. As would become clear, this wasn't actually the truth. She was actually simply married to Eileen whilst being in an intimate relationship with Keith.
I should have walked away sooner. I should have, instead of making things unhealthy, and that's on me.
So although I cannot understand people being upset with her for not being a lesbian, I can understand people being upset with her for, I wouldn't say maliciously, but I would say more so rather haphazardly telling them that she was exploring her sexuality only to discover that she was in a serious committed relationship with Keith. I would say that in the same way that Julia infantilizes her partners, she does infantilize her audience, and this can have dire consequences when out of the blue you introduce them to your new boyfriend who you already live with. Keith's introduction was very Julia coded.
Today I'm here with my ex-wife and my boyfriend. Yeah. Bless him.
She even referred to his grandchildren as her step-grandchildren.
I have 2 grandchildren as well from my daughter.
I met them too. They're super cute. I was really excited because I have step-grandchildren now.
You never thought you'd say that, did you?
No, well, not so early in my life.
Now, as you can imagine, the comments were overwhelmingly negative, and it was quite clear that Julia's core audience were turning. She clearly took this personally. Remember, her audience has always been very welcoming and supportive of her partners, so this response was new for her. After the backlash, she left a pinned comment on the video saying, "I was effing miserable for years. Now I'm finally happy. Just let me be and stop being so goddamn judgmental." Sorry, Julia. Now let me judge. I think this represents a problem that, at least by now, we are very much aware of when it comes to Julia Zelg. For years, she ignored her audience's overwhelmingly well-intentioned concerns about her relationship with Eileen, choosing to present everything as a romantic fairy tale instead. People didn't buy it, the views went down, and interestingly, her views only went up again when she announced her marital problems and her divorce. And even when she admitted that those who had initially warned her about Eileen's shady financial past were right the whole time, she dismissed them as haters. And there's a clear theme here. Toxic, abusive, fake happy age gap relationships are not what people want to see beyond an occasional viral video. Getting out of that toxicity, getting out of that abuse and that fake happiness is what people want to see. Getting back into a committed age gap relationship, seemingly a few months after leaving one, is not going to be received very well. And then proceeding to dismiss your audience's concerns as hate or just being judgmental is not going to generate a terribly positive response. Dear Julia, I think that probably the reason some people think your new relationship is not genuine might be because you used to pretend that your relationship with Eileen was going well for years in front of the camera, but then recently you confessed that this marriage has been toxic for all these years. Only time can prove that this relationship will work or not. Give yourself and your relationship time and ignore impolite comments. Don't even read them thoroughly. Just be yourself behind and in front of the camera. That's just my humble opinion. So, who is Keith?
Welcome to my channel, sweetie.
He's like a male version of Eileen, but rich.
Are you excited to go to Japan?
Can't wait.
Him and Julia are clearly happy in their arrangement. She's a beautiful young woman and he's providing her with a far less stressful quality of life.
Today I am gonna show you my dream closet. I've always dreamt of having a big Hannah Montana walk-in closet and I never had one. This is my very first walk-in closet and it's huge. There's a sofa in it, like seriously.
Notably, he also at least seems to love to travel, and because he's very wealthy, they actually go to pretty amazing places across the globe.
And the reason why I'm going to Vegas is because my partner has a company and he's taking some of his employees on this trip, which is a really nice thing.
Historically, Julia jet-setting with her elderly partner generated amazing views. But now, the mood has clearly shifted. It's clear that Julia's audience haven't gravitated to this relationship in the same way as before, and I'd say that this is because of two reasons. Firstly, I'd say that an age gap relationship between an older man and a young woman is not as taboo or as shockworthy as a lesbian or woman-loving woman age gap relationship. In our day and age, it definitely isn't as worthy of clickbait as a lesbian woman-loving woman age gap relationship. So I think Julia's found it quite difficult to integrate Keith into her new content. Let's just say that Julia is yet to have a Love Don't Judge documentary filmed. And I'd say that secondly, Julia is somewhat of an unreliable narrator of her own happiness and joy. When she says that she's found her soulmate, that her relationships are going well and that she's happy, experience now shows that this probably isn't the full story. And I'd actually add a third point onto this. As we know, Julia is an advocate of age gap relationships being founded on love and not transactional benefit. And she is clearly trying to present her current relationship as one founded on love as opposed to being some kind of financial transactional arrangement. And although I will take her at face value, at the same time, she's perfectly happy to clickbait her relationship with Keith as being a transactional one, referring to him as her sugar daddy. Nonetheless, I do think that she was severely traumatized by the financial abuse and infidelity she experienced. And because finances were what ultimately doomed her relationship with Eileen, I can definitely understand why the stability and the clear financial security offered by Keith would contribute to him being this sort of knight in shining armor. Now, Julia took a small break from the internet due to all the hate and negativity she was receiving after announcing her relationship with Keith.
You know, I have feelings too, and it's difficult. Imagine if for the last 10 years, every single thing you do is scrutinized and criticized so much.
And this announcement was actually very positively received. The negativity was also compounded by her throwing a divorce party at Keith's house that was interesting. Eileen was invited, and of course it does appear very mature, and I do commend them for doing this, but I think just based on everything that everybody knew of their relationship and the toxicity of it, it was a bit too much and seemed a bit fake and forced in a way.
This is us doing the quiz. It's a simple thing, but it was so much fun.
Show me how you want it to be. Tell me, baby, 'cause I need to know. My loneliness is killing me. I must confess, I still believe.
And each to their own in this regard, of course. But I do think that it became clear to Julia that a rebrand was needed. But what that rebrand would be, we would very soon find out.
Hello! So we got all dressed up and matching because my baby organized a photo shoot to celebrate the engagement.
So I said yes. Yeah, I said yes. So we're engaged now.
Oh, wait, well, congratulations on your engagement.
After taking a couple of much needed and deserved months off, Julia would not only come back with a new podcast setup, but an engagement ring.
Oh, I'm wearing the ring now. I got Keith a ring as well, and it's a matching one.
All I'm going to say is I'm so glad that she appears to be doing well, and I sincerely hope that she has a happy and healthy marriage.
Hi, my lovelies! I missed you so much because I didn't record a video in like a week.
Basically, Julia's story is one of how terribly compromising and soul-selling the influencer industry can be. It is also a story about how terribly toxic putting your personal and most cherished relationships on the internet for money, fame, and inevitable scrutiny can be. Online, people are going to judge you for everything. And although Julia's resilience over the years has been commendable, I feel she's gotten herself into a crushing bind. Currently, she's at odds with her core fan base, her channel hasn't grown for years, and her brand is no longer clear. She recently changed her channel into a music channel, yet her music isn't the thing which her audience are there for. Her podcast is in its infancy, but it is noteworthy that the episodes which do the best are the ones with Eileen. Yep, she's still a character, which means that next season is probably going to be very interesting and spicy. And like I said at the beginning of this video, all of this appears to be a bit too much for most people. I do wish Julia all the best, but do let me know what you think. Do you know Julia Zelg, and what do you think of her content? What do you think of age gap relationships and the influencers who advocate for them, among, of course, consenting adults? Thank you so very much for watching, and I'll see all of you very soon in the next one. Brethren, as I'm sure you've now realized, my guilty pleasure is influencers. I find them so interesting. I really like influencers, actually. I know that's bad to say, influencers are bad, we should hate them or whatever. I do actually like them, which is why I do these deep dives into them. And I'm so happy and so thankful that you seem to like them as much as I do. So if you have any suggestions of influencers, please do let me know. I know that there are a lot more influencers than I see on my timeline, just because I'm a woman. So inevitably, like 99.9%, if not 100% of the content I watch is made by women, and so 99.9% of influencers I watch are women. So if you could suggest anybody that you think would be good for me to watch, then please do let me know.